swear to God, wait for it. I'm gonna pin the comment when I find it.
No, what you gotta do is you gotta drop an item on the ground at your feet so that your little white dot, looting dot, comes up, and that's in the center, and that's what gives you the.
I've never thought of that.
I just invented that in my head right now. That's gonna be the new meta, I guess.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the podcast, the show dedicated to talking about all the bonkers things in life, like music, content creation, and video games. I'm one of your co-hosts, Jesse Kazam.
And I am the Bionic Man.
The Bionic Man.
Yeah, I had we're doing the podcast late. It's another Saturday episode because on Thursday I had a procedure done. I think we've talked before about my like acid reflux, esophagus, cough. So I had an endoscopy, and as a part of that, they actually attach on this little tiny computer pill chip thing to the inside of my esophagus, and it sits there for like a week and measures the acidity in my esophagus, and it connects remotely to this little
what?
Oh, perfect timing. You guys hear that? I have to tap my microphone
for it to pick
my
it
noise
up.
gate. So
what?
It wirelessly connects to this little thing I have to carry around with me, and updates my like esophagus acid levels, and then I have a little diary I need to write down everything I eat, when I lie down, when I stand back up.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a pain in my balls, dude.
What is the beeping? Is that just like, hey, write this down? Or is that like, hey, drink some water?
Oh, no, honestly, I think it's just like it loses connection briefly. But it just does it all day long. It's so annoying. It's just like standing here. I'm like, I don't know what to do, you know?
That's wild.
Yeah, so that's
You are the Bionic Man.
Yeah, I had...
How's it feel to be a cyborg?
Refluxy.
Acidic.
Yeah, dude, I had oh wait, let me see. I had a solid I think it's 100 mil, 100 cc, 100 part, 100 some quantity of
grams.
Fentanyl. Yeah, which I've only ever heard as like a real bad drug.
What?
You go under full anesthesia.
Yeah.
The dude who's like the anesthesiologist, he was the coolest guy ever. He was like trying to get me to like hike up in like a couple of different places in New Hampshire and all this other stuff. And he's like, all right, I'm gonna hook you up with like the magic cocktail. And he's like, I'm gonna give you this and this. And all of a sudden it was like, oh god, shut the fuck up. Like 10 seconds later, I was just like, oh my god,
bro,
dude,
that is, dude, I've like thought about that before, just like how unbelievable that science is and how we got to the point where we're confident enough to just like inject these chemicals into a human and they just wake up 8 hours later with a new whatever leg or heart or a chip in their esophagus. Crazy.
Yeah, dude. I was like, listen, I'll come back every day and I would get a what the fuck's it called?
You guys do microdosing?
Yeah, whatever the procedure is. Not a colonoscopy, the other one. Endoscopy. I wouldn't do it for a colonoscopy, but for endoscopy, I'm like, yo, if I can come in every day and get a hit of that, you can scope my throat as much as you want.
Hell yeah.
That's where we're at. What's up with you? How's your esophagus?
I am actually getting sick again. So that's fun.
Kids, man.
Permanent sickness machines. Somebody was like, it like the kind of like constant sickness normally ends when your youngest is in about second grade. And I was like, that's like 5 years from now. I was like, oh,
and
sick.
they stop putting everything in their mouth.
Yeah. And I was like, sick. So only like 5 more years of basically constantly being sick. Oh,
gross, dude.
Yeah.
Ugh. And you're gonna be sticky the whole time too.
Yeah. Yeah. We got the little one he's got super runny nose, and it's just like all day.
God.
He'll have this huge red. It's all just raw because you know what I mean. Just like imagine just
poor guy.
And then it'll be so much his arm will have like a red like raw rat because it's just like it's so instinctual. It's just like you feel something on your face. You know what I mean? It's like he's not like I need a tissue. He's 2 years old, right? He's just gonna like rub, and dude, you just feel so bad for him. It's like such a weird combination of I'm like so annoyed with you because I know how to handle this and I wish you would just handle it. But I feel so bad for you at the same time because I can recognize that you don't know how to handle anything. So yeah. But
man.
Other than that, it's been good. I saw you were playing some Magic the Gathering. Have you been getting any Tarkov in this week, or has it been mostly variety?
I mean, I got a little bit of Tarkov in, dude, but the last 2 times I just can't, man. I just can't. A couple of days ago, I had a fun little moment where I was playing. I was trying to do, I think, like a combination of like Tarkov Shooter and Shooter Born in Heaven and stuff. So I was on Woods, trying to do a bunch of stuff, and I was literally talking about how like it seems, you know how I'm always like I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Like, I don't understand how people are playing, and how like the Tarkov is a game where, you know, some percentage of the time you're just walking and you just die.
You're just gonna die. Yeah.
And I was like, the percentage of times where I'm the one just dying versus the one who's just killing people, it's like 9 to 1.
Yeah.
It's like it's an unreasonable like distribution that has felt just not good for so long for me. Not to mention all of the issues, you know, that we've talked about a million times and I've done a million videos on. And while I was like venting about that on stream, instantly get like my arm blacked out, my leg blacked out, and I'm like, oh my god, like, are you kidding? You know,
here
like,
we go.
I end up killing a dude, naked guy with a Mosin. And then later on in the same raid, I'm like about ready to snipe a guy that's like 120 meters away, and he's like standing still, and all of a sudden someone comes up behind me, and I see it's like a dude who's like semi-geared, but he had his hatchet out, and he's like, hey man, that naked guy with the Mosin stream sniping you. And
what a layered statement. How would you know he's doing it? How do you know who I am? How do you know? Like, that's so weird. It's less weird if you're like, hey, I'm stream sniping you, but to randomly come up and say that guy's stream sniping you.
Yeah. So I ended up now I had seen his name in game, and he had joined my Discord like 5 minutes before. So I sent him a DM. I'm like, hey, yo, yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you're a piece of shit. Because I'm just like so frustrated.
Yeah.
You know, like clearly, and the guy ended up basically telling me that for quite some time, a group of people that he's familiar with has been specifically targeting me and stream sniping me.
Sick.
Which explains
a lot.
It explains a non-zero amount of the bullshit I experience, where it's like, why would anybody be there? How unlucky can I be?
And that's what's crazy is that, like, and this is, I think, an important part of the point you're making there, is that Tarkov in and of itself has a certain amount of the just like random chance encounters. Tarkov with all of the issues means we're so close to a boiling point already. So like you just acknowledged it. You were like, it explains a non-zero amount. You're not like, oh, well, that explains everything. All my deaths, I'm going to attribute it to that guy. But playing Tarkov, you exist so close to the line that a group of guys that stream snipe you, that actually hit you 3 or 4 times a day, can push you all the way over the edge, because all of the Tarkov bullcrap gets all of us so close. So just a few additional like forceful deaths that are like weird or sus or frustrating is all it takes to just be like, this game. You know what I mean? Like it's great. So they only have to successfully do that 2, 3, 4 raids a night, and it's game over, because it's just like, what?
Every raid that isn't bullshit, which is like 1 out of every 3 raids, you know, or 1 out of every 4, which would otherwise those would be the redeeming raids.
Yes. So
it's just all bad, right? It's
exactly.
Like, if there's a cheater in 1 out of 3 raids and bullshit in 1 out of 3 raids and a stream sniper in 1 out of 3 raids, I can't win the game ever.
Exactly.
It's like unwinnable.
We said this the other day, where it's like, it seems like there's 12 things that all have a 10% chance of completely removing your control over whether you live or die. And so it's some days, right? Because like 12 things that have a 10% chance doesn't mean every single one of your raids has one of those things.
Yep.
Some days you get 8 raids in a row that feel great. Some days you get 14 raids in a row that feel like garbage. So it's a pretty significant thing to just add another thing. Now that 12 things is 13 things, because there's a group of guys stream sniping me. That just makes that whole experience all the worse, because the statistical likelihood of a good raid was just reduced even further. And that makes it just like so toxic. Like, yeah,
dude. So, I mean, and he said it's like a group of people like that he's known for years. It sounded like it's a decent sized group. And he basically said they're like known, like it's like a cheating group, like they cheat. So I don't know if they're cheating in Tarkov. But one thing I do know, and nobody's ever really talked about this before, but I mean, at this point, I just don't care. I'm just going to come out and say it, that there are cheats out there that will allow you to essentially tie yourself to someone else's account.
Yeah, I've heard
and
it
will put you in whatever lobbies, like whatever the queue is, it'll put you in their queue.
You like lobby follow them, like it just like attached. Yeah, I've heard of
this. This happened to like Ghost Freak and a few other people for literally like months and months and months. You'd have the same person. You'd hide your screen. You'd change servers. They'd be in your next raid. And see, so, I mean, who knows how much of that? And see, that's another thing that's just like absolutely killing like my mental health is, and I know talking about this is just like makes me more of a target, but like the less I play Tarkov, the less I care.
Yeah.
You know, I'd much rather vent about it and have me be a little bit more of a target potentially than not talk to anybody about it. Just because I want more people to understand where I'm coming from with like my frustrations and stuff, because maybe a non-zero number of people will stop being like, oh, all he does is moan about the game and it's a skill issue. You can say skill issue all you want, but none of you clowns have people literally specifically targeting you, cheating, and killing you and having all the information. Like I'm not playing the same. I've been saying I'm not playing the same game as you.
Yeah.
Well, now, I mean,
you literally have cheaters admitting it. Yeah. Like, and the great thing, like, think about how the more cheating becomes a problem, it's been harder for the casual player to die to maybe explainable things and not think cheats. We've talked about that phenomenon, right? Like it's like poisoning the well. Now that we like, knowing that there's a really bad cheating problem means it's really hard to not think that maybe there was a cheater when maybe there was another explanation. So like that's an analogy that hopefully like a more casual player can understand. Now think about that same logic applied to a literal cheater admitting to you that cheaters and stream snipers target you. How does that not poison the well mentally? That when you're super frustrated at the game, you might deep down know that maybe that was explainable, but you'll also be like, but also maybe it's these guys. Just like we're all poisoned in the like, was that desync or was that a cheater? Was that sus or was it not? And we don't know anymore. And that's like the robbery there, because we're like, oh, now you have that other layer of like, are these freaking jabronis stream sniping me again? Like, how could that not affect the mental aspect of it? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it really is like because as someone who's like I try to be a critical thinker and open-minded and reasonable and skeptical about all of these things. Um so like at least before when it was, I mean, I always knew that there were people that would like, wanted to mess with me and stuff like that, but it wasn't as common, as I think it has been recently. So
Yeah.
so then it just becomes like it's easy to dismiss it as like, yep, I just got unlucky, let me not get frustrated,
Yeah.
whatever, and then move on. But when it's something that I know is a thing,
Yeah.
then yeah, I mean, it just like poisons everything, and it also affects the way that I play. You know what I mean? Like you play differently against cheaters, you play differently against stream snipers.
For sure.
I remember the first raid of the stream. It was like 3 streams ago. I was on Shoreline. I don't remember. I might have looted a LEDX. It was the 3rd LEDX I needed for that quest with Therapist.
Oh yeah, Crisis
it was the
or
last,
whatever.
Yeah, Crisis, the last LEDX I needed. And it was like in the first room, and then I heard somebody outside coming in the building. I'm on the 2nd floor. This was West Wing. You know how like near 218 there's like a stack of boxes?
Yep.
I like walked behind the stack of boxes and waited. And just
you
waited.
Can like look down towards the barbed wire.
Yeah, so my back was to the barbed wire.
Oh,
I was
you're
just
looking.
standing,
Okay, yeah.
looking towards the far west side because I heard somebody coming outside, come up the stairs. All of a sudden, clink clink, grenade explodes. And of course, there's 2 dudes in chat saying, "It's a common grenade spot, dude." He was just clearing the area.
Yeah.
Okay, dude, like tell me that you're not a reasonable human being without telling me that you're not a reason. Oh yeah, the moment you look down the hallway, you instantly will grenade right next to the box.
Yes.
You couldn't have seen that. You can't from that far down. You can't see that like 216 is open.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The problem with that logic is there's more common grenade spots on any given map than slots on your character for grenades.
Yep.
So like if a normal person brings 2 to 4 grenades, the logic of, well, he just pre-naded it. It's like, but you would say that about 47 different spots in Resort that are really common spots for people to be. So,
and it's not like there was 5 nades beforehand in other spots.
Yeah.
Then maybe you could deduce he was just trying to clear everything.
Yeah.
But that's not how people don't play like that. You never assume that someone's in the hallway behind the boxes.
Yeah.
You assume that someone's in one of the rooms.
Yeah.
So then there was that, and then yesterday, first raid of the day, the one and only raid, because at that point I'm like, nah, I just can't play the game anymore. I was doing the quest on Woods where you try to get 3 kills with a bolt action. And I went over into the like the little scav camp with all like the medical and food stuff.
Yeah.
Ended up like killing a scav. Like 7 minutes had gone by, and I was like waiting because I heard someone in the distance, and I was like kind of trying to see if I could get an angle on like a shooter shot, but I just never saw anybody. It was like a long time went by.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, clink, 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 kaboom. It was like 2 inches to the left next to the concrete, so I didn't take any damage, but I'm like, okay, like he only threw 1 nade. He didn't throw 7, it was right next to me, and I was in, there's the container with like the dead bodies. It just has like a couple of covered up dead bodies and like a table. Underneath it, there's like a little area. That's where I was. The grenade landed like right there, which is like of all the places.
Yeah.
And then the dude comes sprinting in. I see he's like juiced. Comes sprinting in, and I was like, I didn't even ADS, like no noises whatsoever, and I'm like holding. And you see him run right up to the corner where the angle where I'm like holding.
Yep.
And then stop and then run right up to the right. Like just never when there's a situation like that and you never get a single pixel of a sight on the guy.
Yeah.
Until the one moment where he peeks
and you die.
in your direction and starts popping shots off. Now, he peeked and he was looking right in my direction. I ended up shooting because I was ready for him.
Yeah.
But he just like peeked, I'm like, oh, okay. So then he ended up killing me. But it's like, those fights, they don't feel normal.
They don't feel real. Yeah, they don't.
It's exactly how you move when you have walls.
Yeah.
When you have ESP or radar or whatever, that I'm not going to go there or there because they can see me, and you just run everywhere in between without ever exposing a pixel of your body. Like, give me a break.
Yeah. Yeah. And after literally hundreds of thousands of organic fights over the career of Tarkov, it's like, it's not unreasonable to assume that like things feel suspicious. It's not, you know what I mean? You can just tell.
And it's not like he ran out of, in any normal situation, the guy doing all that would just run out the front and go on with his day.
Yeah.
Like literally 4 minutes of him just running back and forth, not looting containers, just like running to the angle. And I'm like, and he doesn't peek, and he runs to the other side. And I'm like,
Yep.
There's like, it's possible it was legit, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, again, it's a numbers game.
It's a numbers game, and exactly, and that this happens. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh man.
So yeah, that's been my Tarkov experience. So I've been playing Magic. I've been playing. I can't wait for Diablo 4 to come out. Got to wait 2 months. For that. Been playing. I just played Hearthstone. Got to Legend. On Classic, but it's mostly bots anyway these days.
Really?
Nobody plays that game mode anymore. I just can't learn like 8 years worth of cards.
Yeah.
So I just play Classic, which is like the original few sets. That's been it.
Yep.
That's been it. What about you?
Just lots of Tarkov. I'm free from Kappa or anything. I had a weekly to kill like 30 PMCs or 50 PMCs with a Keter, which I was like, oh, this will be fun. And it was like the very first night, me and Jay were playing Woods, and I got like 14 kills in that night. And that was just with the Keter. We killed a bunch of other people. It was like so fun. And then the next like 2 days, it was just like death after death after death. And then I was just like, nah, because like it's fun when it's fun, but like when it's just I have a stash full of gear, and every time I die, I'm buying another Keter and 8 mags and 100, 200 rounds of ammo. It's like, I'm just going to use the freaking guns. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm not working towards Cap. I don't need anything, but it was like, yeah, like Streets is super fun. That's basically all I'm playing. We had another like insane DC. We were playing last night with Desmond and Seal, and Desmond team killed me. It was just like communication, and like because it was Desmond, I was like, okay, clip that and let's pull it up, because like we were on Streets, and I was like, I was 3 business days behind this like pillar. Like I was much closer. I was much closer to being to like right side peeking this pillar. But Desmond killed me from the left side of it with a headshot. So like my head on my screen, if you take the big pillar in front of me, center it, I'm on the right half. Like I'm moving this way. And I was like, clip it. And when he's shooting at me, he can see my entire body peeked out from the pillar. And it's like, bah, bah, bah. And Desmond's nuts. So he hits his shots, right? So he freaking shoots me in the head and I die. And it was just like, yeah, you know what I mean? It's not like a huge revelation, but it's just like, you bank those when you have the clips, when you like have the receipts to like show this is how bad it is.
Well, see, you know what I just thought there too is that we always say like, well, there's desync, right? So technically you wouldn't die behind the corner, you would just die earlier.
Yeah.
Well, actually no. If there wasn't the desync, you might die earlier, but you would also be in a different place, moving at a different speed at a different time. So it's possible that if they only have so much time to react to you, that if it was perfectly in real time, they wouldn't be enough time for them to aim and hit the shot because you'd be behind the pillar,
exactly.
Right?
It's hard to understand what actually would have happened in an encounter, because what it seems like is two unreliable sources present information to the almighty server, and the almighty server doesn't decide what's reliable from your story and what's reliable from your story. It just goes, you were the right one. So like, it feels like the server authenticating either one, both sides of the story have bad data. On Desmond's side, I was way out. On my side, I was way in. But where were the true and actual positions of each person at that time? You know what I mean? Would it have been somewhere in the middle where I was getting back behind cover while Desmond was still peeking, and actually he wouldn't have got any shots on me, and maybe it would have been like an engagement there or whatever, or I could have said, hey, that was me. But because it just goes, oh, this is the one, it still feels like almost it's like enough desync that if it was fixed, it actually might have changed the tide of a fight, not just been like, oh, you would have died on that peak. You know what I mean? So
if there's a ton of latency, and I don't know how the server handles reconciliation between position and, you know, it could just be that there's some grace period, because like if you've sent your position to the server and it's going to say, I shot them at this point in time. Yeah. They were standing here. And the server's like, oh, well, they weren't standing here. Yeah. Like, exactly. We know that the server is not going to think that they're there. It's going to think that you're here. It's either going to have to say, like, no, your bullets don't count. Yeah. Which sucks. Or it's going to have to say, yes, they do count, which sucks for the other person. Other guy. Or they say, sure, it always counts. Yep. Exactly. Or they say, which will always reward the person shooting. Yeah. And moving. Or maybe there's some like wiggle room where it's like, as long as you're within 3 feet or something, then they will respect what you saw, because otherwise, see, the thing is that like, if I was implementing, I'm not saying this is how they do it. I'm just saying, like, for the sake of argument, if I did not care about the truth of the situation, but I just wanted things to seem the least broken total for everybody, it's make it totally client authoritative. You'll die behind a wall and people will say desync, but then the other person who's doing the killing will be like, yeah, I own them. They won't realize it, right? But if you lay into somebody and you see blood and you headshot, oh, God. I think good. OBS is probably gonna crash. Am I frozen?
You're frozen on Discord. God. Yeah.
Well, that just I don't know what the people who are watching on YouTube are gonna see. Probably just like
snap to this.
But yeah, did we end up including the bits about last week when we did the 2 ad reads and how both times it like crashed? I'm sure we talked about that. That must have made it in, right?
I think part of it did. I cut out like all the stuff where it was weird, but I think part of it made it in. But yeah,
I haven't had
OBS crashing.
I haven't had OBS crash and my internet die a single time since the last podcast we did. I have made some friends with some InfoSec folks over the years, and I'm gonna have them take a look at this.
I might need to call them up.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Sus.
Yeah. I actually just recently had to deal with them as of yesterday. Did you see the whole saga on Twitter? I know this isn't Tarkov, but it's topical.
No.
I tweeted, like, you didn't see the warning I tweeted? So I said, warning, all my streamer/YouTuber friends. And I added...
Oh, yeah.
I added this dude, FL Scotty, Skotty. I don't know.
Yeah.
He's a scumbag. I said him and presumably others are posing as representatives for companies that want to sponsor YouTube videos and streams, and in a nutshell, they send you malware hidden in quote-unquote contracts. Don't open. Apparently, this is what hit Lioness Tech Tips.
Yeah.
I know nothing about what happened other than people have been saying that's what happened to LTT. That's what happened to LTT. But yeah, I actually finished a contacts comparison video recently and was like waiting to finish it because I was in talks with this guy. You know, he's like, oh, I'll pay you, X amount of dollars for a 35-second ad read in your video for like, have you heard of the company TrueLancer? It's like freelance services, kind of similar to Fiverr.
Yeah.
He you know, and his Twitter, he had like 1,200 followers. His Twitter, you know, had like website information and, you know, whatever. And it's like as legitimate as somebody can look. He sent me a Google Drive link. And I, you know, I downloaded it, and then, well, actually, no, I went to go click on it, and it was a dead link. And I'm like, oh, there's nothing there. So then he like was like, oh, I updated it. Go take a look here, and it was password protected. And already like the number of steps that I had to go through and all this stuff, I'm like, But then when he responded back with the updated link, like 10 hours later, and I was like in bed on my laptop on my Mac, I finally got a new MacBook, I mean, Macs just don't have the same virus worries and stuff like that. So I ended up opening up the RAR file after downloading it, and I see there's two files. There's a video, which was like the TrueLancer, you know,
the B-roll or whatever you would put in
for the ad. And then the other thing I saw was contract agreement for YouTube partners .pdf.scr. And I'm like, what the is that? And then I see size 1.42 gigabytes.
Yo,
that's a big PDF.
That's a large PDF.
Yeah. So we had that. So I already was like, I instantly responded back because the guy was like, oh, he kept saying too, let me know when you open it. Not let me know when you sign the contract. Geez. Let me know when you open it. Like rock hard for. Let me know. Oh, I can't wait for you to open the contract. Bro. You idiot. Such a clown. So I just responded back to. What did I say? I was like, really, bro? And I was like, did people actually fall for this shit, or was I the first one you've tried? And he was like, strangely enough, people do. Smiley face. And I was like, wow, you're a asshole, dude. You're a clown. And he's like, why didn't you open the file? And I said, why didn't you do something meaningful with your life instead of preying on people? And of course I reported him, but he literally still has, he's got the blue check mark. He paid for Twitter, you know, whatever. I reported him.
He did.
And his account's still there. It still says TrueLancer. He's still got the website. I emailed TrueLancer and was like, this guy's trying to scam people. But what ended up happening was an associate of mine who will remain anonymous. He went through and did the whole analysis, opened it up in like a VM, you know, did the whole thing. And I have like a full report. So all of those gigabytes is literally just garbage data appended onto the end of a small file to fill it up. Presumably because like Google Drive and other pieces of software, they don't virus or malware scan above a certain file size limit. I think that's also why they password protect it too and like throw it in a RAR. But then
what the hell, dude?
Yeah. And then let me look. He said basically what it does is it's a credential harvester, and it steals your like crypto wallets, and it like connects to like Telegram channels and a bunch of like specific IP addresses, and harvests a bunch of information, all of your session data on your browsers. It grabs all of that. It owns you, and sends it all off to wherever. Now I don't think it was targeted, because there were other people who responded, like other even smaller YouTubers and Twitch streamers who sent pictures of that guy in their DMs being like, yo, you want to do sponsored whatever?
Dude.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to talk to him and or some other folks I know to see if we can't figure out what the is going on.
Bro, that is awful. Freaking, why do people have to suck so hard? Oh.
And it makes it even worse that OBS has like this, I'm pretty sure it's an OBS bug, which were like when there's some sort of connection issue, it crashes.
Yeah.
And then when you restart it, there's no audio.
Ugh.
So
Ugh.
I'll get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. That's insane.
Anyway, so enough of that. Back to
So if
you were talking about Tarkov.
Just desync and we were just talking about that, and that I don't know, that like it's impossible to tell what the hell actually was supposed to happen when anything like that happens. But yeah, Tarkov in general, it's been like it's been weird, man. Obviously, I know, and there's two types of people that listen to the podcast: people that know and understand where we are with Tarkov and enjoy it because it's cathartic, and people who are like, "Oh my god, you guys just whine and complain." There's nothing new, right? We've talked about everything. It's just like
imagine listening to a podcast that you hate listening to.
Yeah, imagine
That's
like signing up to listen to a 2.5 hour thing that you hate.
Yeah, see, the difference is that like people are like, why do you play the game and do a podcast when you complain? It's like, well, there's a number of reasons that we don't have to explain why.
Yeah.
But let's just say it's just money. I mean, I'm doing something that I don't want to do for money. You're doing something you don't want to do for no money. Who's more unreasonable?
Exactly. Who's more unreasonable? Yo.
But all the positive people, we appreciate you.
For real. It's overwhelmingly positive, you know what I mean? My favorite is when it's like streamers don't criticize the game. It's like, let me introduce you to the podcast. Criticism of the game 2 hours a week. You know what I mean? Anyways. But yeah, so Tarkov's been more of the same. It's been like, so I know this is going to make you like, not like, because we've talked about it before. I feel like my survival rate is going down like steadily. Like it hit a point where it was like in the low 70s, and it's just been like for probably a month now, steadily going down. I feel like I'm dying. Like the fact that my survival rate right now is 61% blows me away. Because if I had to guess, I imagine I die more than half of my raids. Like it feels that way. But I'm making money, like hand over fist. Like I went from like 24 million to like 37 million in the past 2 weeks. And we were kind of dissecting how like bad that feels. Like it doesn't even... If you're newer to the game, money going up is an addicting dopamine hit, right? Like more money, more gear, more better ammo and stuff like that. But like 6,000 hours into the game, like I feel like I'm losing all the time, and that the fights aren't fun or meaningful, and I'm making a bunch of money. It starts to have me question like, why? Like, what is this money for? Like, I don't like, you know what I mean? It's been like a weird, and I know, like we've said before, a lot of it is because I play with the duo and I get a bunch of stuff back in insurance and stuff like that. And, you know, it's a lot easier to win fights when you've got somebody, when I get hurt, I can fall back. But it's just been, it's so weird that like as my survival rate goes down, my money goes up. And it's just like, it's just this weird, like, I don't know. It just feels weird. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Do you think it's, I guess why is that? Is it?
I think it's a combination of like the way I loot. I prioritize gear over valuables. So where I'm at right now in my wipe, so like early wipe, every time I die, I have to buy a lot of stuff. Where I'm at now with my wipe is every time I die, I don't have to buy anything. Like I don't have to buy anything. I have armors, helmets, guns, pistol grips, magazines, ammo, contacts, meds. I don't have to buy anything. So, and if I don't have to buy anything, and let's say like 45% of the time when I die, I get most of that gear back in insurance, then every time I win, it's just straight profit, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm playing basically exclusively streets. I don't even have any of the good streets keys, by the way. And it's just like the loot on streets is insane. So it's just like,
dude, it's the complete opposite for me. Every raid, if I survive a raid, I have to repair my armor, which is either wicked expensive or it's a huge chunk of the 700,000 ruble armor repair kit.
Yeah.
And then I have to buy another Salewa, another Propital, another 3 stims, because I did, use the 200,000 stim cocktail, because if I survive, then that means I'm full of loot and I'm alone. So I have to use the stims to get out in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah.
To avoid like player scavs, stream sniping or whatever.
For sure.
So it's like, if I take out a bunch of junk, a gun, and maybe a rig that is probably evens out in value for the repair cost than what you get. And then I spend 20, 220, 240. If I need to buy like another, like even just the 3-use tourniquet and like a splint,
the Calic,
that's another 20 or 30 grand. I mean, it's $250,000 rubles per raid if I survive. Because what I have in my thick item case is a bunch of armors that I don't want. I'm not going to wear slick. I'm not going to wear and I'm not going to wear like Altons and wrist tees because I hate not hearing and seeing anything. I don't like it for the stream, and I'll just get blasted with a KS anyway in the legs. And then in my weapon case just has a bunch of thermals that I'm holding for the thermal quests I'll never get to. And otherwise there's no guns in it because and
go ahead.
If I go on shoreline and I survive like 3 or 4 raids in a row, if I find dead shoreline raids because it's like early in the morning on a Tuesday, well then I end up with like 10 Salewas and like some stims, but then in 10 runs they're gone. And I'm back to buying them again.
Yeah, I think it's like, I definitely don't say that my experience is the normal experience, just to get ahead of the comments of like, oh, Jesse's complaining he has so much money. I'm not complaining that I have money at all. It's, you know what I mean? But it's just been weird. Like, I feel like it's a culmination of how I play for the first 3 months of a wipe. Like, we hit this point like around the 3-month mark where I'm set for the rest of the wipe because I don't loot for money. Like, early wipe, all of the people I play with, all of my like regular duos, early wipe always have more money than me. Because like when they find things or valuables, like they sell and they always have a ton more money, ton more flea market rep than I do. But then like there's this tipping point where like I get to a point in the wipe, and it's never like a conscious point, but I just get to a point where like I'm set. I could die 75 raids in a row and not have to buy anything from traders, except maybe a few magazines. Like, I'm cruising because all wipe, you know what I mean? It's like a little bit here, a little bit there. But from day one of the wipe, I prioritize full IFAX over, you know what I mean? Like this, growl foregrip that's worth more on the flea because I want to fill my med case with meds. Like right now I have a Propital med case that's full with Propital to the brim, full with Propital. And I craft more. So, so it's like, so in the beginning I'm cash poor because I'm such a hoarder. I hoard all the loot. And then I get to this breaking point where between surviving enough of my raids and getting enough back from insurance, it's like I'm almost just pulling out of interest. You know what I mean? Like the everything stays the same and I have to pull a little out of interest. And then I make a bunch of money passively off like crafting things. Like I permanent, like if you run streets, you will never need another sugar in your life. Like there's sugars everywhere. So I craft moonshines. Like, you know what I mean? I use the water filter and I craft the super waters, and then I always have the sugar. I craft moonshines. I almost have a fridge full of moonshines right now. And it's like when it gets full, I don't really care what to do with them. So I'm going to sell them all for 270,000 rubles and make 8 million, just like right there off moonshines.
Your fridge, you have more than I have in like all my cases.
Yeah. It's like, so, and then I'm crafting Propital nonstop. So if I wanted to sell a bunch of those for money, I could. So it's like everything stays the same as far as like gear. And then it's like, if I have a day of really good raids, especially on streets, you're finding Veritas picks and GP coins and lions and cats. And it's like, you do good and you have a few good raids. But on a bad day where I die a lot, my ruble count generally stays exactly the same. And so
and that's where I'm at. It's like, I'm basically like always, I'm never making any progress. If I'm losing a ton of money, it's like I'm trading 1 million rubles for a junk box full of to then sell it all to get 1 million rubles, to then buy a bunch of gear, to then use it to fill up my junk box, to then die a bunch, to then sell it all.
And once again, I'm not complaining. I love the way I play. I always prefer. I have to have this conversation 100 times a day where people are like, why are you taking that armor? Like, why are you taking this? Why are you like drop that gun? The amount of times like I have this personal moral thing where like unless it's absolutely necessary, I'll never fraud my own gun, because like I'll have like a little an MP7, right, and I'll leave behind a juice cannon because I can't fit it in my bag, and chat will be like, fraud your gun, and I'll be like, no, this gun killed these guys, this is my gun, I don't leave this behind. Like, it's just like a little game I play with myself where I'm like, and I have to have this dude, people are like, dude, YouTube comments, TikTok comments, people are always mauling about how I loot, but I just like it. I like the concept of like, I loot what I want to use, not what I want to sell. And it like takes a really...
People assume that you're as much of an idiot as they are.
Yeah. And so that takes a really long time to build to a point where then I start making just like profit hand over fist because my stash is out of space. And then I finally start selling guns and armor because it all just sits up at the top. And so it's like, I'm definitely not complaining. I love playing Tarkov that way. I was just saying it was like kind of an interesting tidbit on what are we doing? Like, why do we play the game? And once again, I know if you're new to the game, like if you're new to the game and you don't understand how we are wondering like, what's the point? Why keep playing the game? That's fine. Like, I want you to enjoy that honeymoon period. You know what I mean? But like, I kind of put this down later of like, I've been getting the question a lot recently, like what happens when the game has no wipes? Which obviously is like, A, we don't know if that'll ever happen. B, if it does happen, it's so far from now that so many other things could happen in the game between now and then that answer the question for us before we get to that point. So it's kind of like, I don't really engage with that question a lot, but it was just like, I think what happened was we stumbled into such a good analogy last week on the podcast, and I've been ruminating on it. It's been living in my brain nonstop. This concept of like, when you want endgame, you know, when you want like, which endgame could almost be used to describe the player has completed the main objectives, but we'd like the passionate players to basically play in perpetuity. How do we maximize playtime with minimal dev effort? Feels like a general way to explain endgame. It doesn't mean there needs to be a raid. That was just how World of Warcraft created endgame. They would create these raids. Yeah. And so last week we talked about how like when the player has arrived at whatever it is, let's say max traders for Tarkov, because Kappa is very unobtainable for the average player. But like, let's say max traders, they've done all that the game really wants them to do. Like, we talked last week about like, there's two ways to go. You either make something easily accessible and infinitely repeatable in search for a thing that's very rare, or you make something like, or you give the player the tool to build their own experience over and over and over and over and over again. And that experience is it, you know? So you either go DayZ, like Rust.
DayZ or like Diablo.
Rust, or you go Diablo WoW, right?
Yeah.
And me and Velian were talking about, like, I was brought back to that analogy. We were talking about keys. He was doing kind of like a video. He bought the marked key on Streets. And so he was going to do 10 uses of the marked key. How much did I pay for it? You know, was it worth it? You know what I mean? And it was like, and then Ann Munition was watching us play, and she even tweeted, she didn't even know that he was doing that, but she ended up tweeting out, she was like, man, why is it that when we open a marked room, we get like a P90 and an ammo case? Like, these are like the rarest, you know, the best you can get is an ammo case. Normally you just get a P90 and some regular ammo. People are opening the dorms marked room to completely nothing, like not even Keter ammo, like completely nothing. And me and Valiant, I ended up back at that analogy where I was like, we exist, the marked keys, the high value keys exist, or the marked key specifically, exist completely in the middle, which is what makes them feel very bad. And I told this to Valiant, and he like blew his mind, and he was like, yes. I was like, if the marked key had one use or two uses when you found it, but the key was rare, very rare, and it was a guarantee, like Omega Juice, like weapons case, that might even be full of weapons,
Dude, I would go in with a 5-man and I would have them, you clear west side, you clear east side, everybody hunker down.
Imagine it loot so juiced you could actually enough juice to like split with a squad. Like, I found the key. If you guys come with me, I'm going to give you some loot. That would be fun, and it wouldn't break the economy too much because the key, like the rarity of the key, would make up for it, right? So it's not like everybody's doing this all the time. And if you can't flee the key, let me finish the thought real quick. Or you go the other way where the marked key has 200 uses and they're easy to obtain, but the chance of finding rare loot in there is very low. It's what, like, let's say the marked key is the only place in Tarkov you can find a weapons case.
Yeah.
That's how WoW does it. This raid is the only place in the game you can find this armor.
And it's 1 out of 100
Do
raids.
it 1,000 times and you might find it.
Yeah.
Either of those realities are fun. More fun than we have now for keys. Because you either get the key and then the fun is the farm. I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying the Venn diagram of every Tarkov player would find both of those things fun. I'm saying compared to what we have, that's objectively better game design because there's a large group of people that do find fun in the grind, in the farm, right? I'm going to farm this and I'm going to hope for the goated spawn. I'm going to hope for the weapons case full of loot, but it's going to happen very rare. But the key needs to be accessible if that's the case. Or the key should be rare. You can't buy it off the flea. It's only one use, but it's nutso in the butso loot.
Yeah.
What we have is an expensive, rare key with 10 uses, and you could legitimately go all 10 of those uses and not find anything, and just find like a mutant is the best thing.
I got an injector case is the one thing I found in 10 uses.
Or you could find 3 of those. The first key Velian used, he found 3 injector cases, 2 docs cases, a dog tag case, and an ammo case in the 10 uses. But the second one, the one he did for the video, he found a ammo case. That was it. Other than like guns, which are often bad guns. You know what I mean? Like, so I was brought back to that analogy of like the Tarkov kind of exists in the middle where when you arrive at level 42 or at Kappa or at 15, whatever your goal is, the game doesn't really provide you infinitely farmable content that's fun, which the example we were using last week was the bosses. If the bosses were easier, it'd be more fun to farm. And if they had like, like all the bosses can spawn a red key card. It's really rare, but nobody, this is actually a great example. Nobody farms Killa or like Sturman for a red key card. They just farm the shoreline spot because why deal with the boss AI if it spawns on shoreline? When there's
3 red key cards
exactly.
spawns and you don't have to
so
shoot
like
or kill
if
anybody.
Sturman was not easy but not impossible and he spawned more, you might farm Sturman for the red key card. You know what I mean? So it's like but the point is that you get to a place in Tarkov and Tarkov doesn't provide you an accessible thing to farm for high level loot, and it doesn't provide you a rare thing to do for high level loot. It just says go to streets, make bank off of moonshines and sugars and gold skulls, and then buy everything that you want.
Yep.
And that's the rub. That's the difference between, like, I'm trying to think of an example. I don't know. That's like the difference between like earning a first place championship in your race. It's a
winning
difference.
A raffle.
It's the difference between earning your first place championship in this track and field race or buying a 30-minute head start.
Yeah.
You're like, I won with my money. That doesn't feel as good. And the game doesn't really do that. And we talked about that last week, and I have just been ruminating on that. And then I was like, man, we could apply the same exact logic to keys, where like it arrives at a fork in the road and decides to plow through the middle and not go either direction. And what's crazy about Tarkov is that there's so many locked rooms, the game could valuably do both. Where you could have 10 rooms that have keys with like 200 uses or 300 uses, and you could have 10 rooms across all the maps that all have super rare keys with 1 use. And then the player could actually vacillate between the two. You could be farming this room and then find this nutty key and be like, okay, guys, we got to get the squad. And because both of them are balanced between like the rarity of the key and the rarity of the loot in the common key, it wouldn't even necessarily break the economy. And I don't care about the economy because the economy's already broken. Like, people talk about, like, whenever we throw out ideas, people are like, well, yeah, but then it would break the economy. Sheaf, I love Sheaf, by the way. Like, I love this man. This isn't a diss on him. He just did a 24-hour stream. He made 116 million rubles in 24 hours. All he did was play Streets. 116 million rubles in 24 hours. But don't do anything for the casuals that could break the economy. It's like you can be as rich as you want in this game. Just freaking scav Streets, PMC Streets, profit.
Yeah,
like
and presumably he probably plays on the deadest raids, the deadest servers that he can, because that's just like, no shade, but that's just the streamer meta.
Yeah,
that's the streamer. All the streamers that want to maximize their money, I promise you, they play on strategically the deadest servers that they can.
Yeah.
So no, one of the things I wanted to say that I think is meaningful is, you know, like the whole idea that when you die to whatever and people are like, yo dog, like check your corners.
Yeah.
And it's like Tarkov trains us to basically say, we can't check everything. We might as well not check anything. There's no point in actually being careful, because being careful doesn't even necessarily like benefit you, all this other stuff. If there's the raid where you know you're going to go to the marked room, you've got the one key, and you know that like minimum is a weapon case, you know, I'm going to get a 5-man. All of us are going to be wearing level 5 and 6 armor with the meta. That's when maximizing your survival chances. I'm going to make sure I have all the meds. I'm going to have way more ammo than I need.
Yes.
You know, like I'm going to check. Literally, I'm going to clear every room.
Corner, yep.
You know, these days, if I have a marked key, even as expensive as it is and as rare as it is, if I go to the marked room, I will walk up to the door, turn right, and unlock it, even though
there's 2 rooms.
Anybody could be in the bathroom just chilling there. And back in the day, that used to be a thing that would be regular. But it's like, the chances of that happening and there being something good in marked room where that matters is so small that I'm just like lazy. The game has trained me not to care.
Yep.
So when like, it's not, because in terms of value, every raid is like a 7 or 8 out of 10 average.
Yeah.
You know, if you just fill your bag up with the whatever shit you find going from one side of the map to the other, even if it's junk from toolboxes, you will have like more money than any of us had in ever in the entire wipe.
You remember when 10 million rubles was like rich? Oh, like you had 10 million rubles.
2 million was like way more than you ever needed. Because there was no flea market.
Yeah, and Gen 4s were 100,000 rubles.
Well, Gen 4 wasn't in the game at that point. But like scavs spawned, normal scavs, you were almost guaranteed to get a fort armor off of from a factory run if you just waited until like the last couple waves of scavs. It was just fast MTs, meta M4s, fort armors, and night vision, the only night vision in the game, right? And then like that was it. And like Bitcoin. So yeah, I mean that would give you a reason to care. Now the downside is, again, like, you know, people say, oh well, people would camp it and whatever. Well, that's why you'd go in with a squad and you would clear everything. I would have somebody on the front door holding it, somebody on the side door, somebody on the other side door, someone on that second floor. Don't want anybody to be able to creep up. Don't want anybody to ninja that. I'm going to make sure I have cash. I'm going to, if I spawn in and we run over and the car isn't there, reset. I'm going to make sure that I can take the car, exfil. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to make sure all the stars align and it's going to actually be like meaningful and important and you're going to care.
Yeah. Exactly. And like, and that's just like such a weird, like, that's such a weird reason to like not want to do that idea. It's like, well, people are going to camp the rooms. It's like, you're the same guy that says, check my corners when I die. Like, what? I'll just like, now I have a reason to check the corners. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's not like an extract, like a marked room. You can clear third story of dorms and then be like, no one's here. Like, you can clear that. You know what I mean? It's not like freaking Path to Lighthouse where the dude could be anywhere and there's more angles than to check. Yeah, where you're just like, okay, I'm just gonna die. You know what I mean? If somebody's camping it. So, and then the other part is if there were 10 of these rooms across the 10 or 11 maps, you know what I mean? It was just like, and the keys were sufficiently rare. Yeah. It's like, does somebody have the key? Like the thing about Marked Room right now is like, or the thing about Marked Room 5 wipes ago when people used to camp it was because everybody had a marked key, right? And it was just who's the first to get there. So you could efficiently camp it. That's why camping on interchange is a problem. Everyone has railway or freaking the train yard, or Emercom, you know what I mean? So you can guarantee people are going to be there, which my fix for the camping on interchange has always been add more extracts. And the fix for camping the marked key is if not everybody has the marked key and there's more than one of these rooms across the map, well then, yeah, you could camp it, but the effectiveness of camping it would be so much less that I think it would just end up being another risk you would calculate. Okay, let me check this. Especially if you died and the key is still in your butt, you know what I mean? Then you're chill. Like,
yeah, and see, like that's the thing people have to realize is they think that, yeah, but we'll have some bad thing as a result. That is going to be the truth no matter what.
For anything.
The moment you make something good enough that you're going to want it, someone else is going to want it too.
Exactly.
And that's the nature of the game, is that people, it's either going to be cheaters or campers or exploiters or squads or whatever that are going to want to min-max the thing. And that's part of that is the game design's job to address that, as well as the player's job within their control, hopefully, hopefully driven by the game design to be able to deal with that,
Yes. And that's what makes Tarkov hardcore. Not like, you know what I mean? Like that, this concept of like something is there for the taking. You might get to it first, but I can still take it from you. Not like that's the core of what makes Tarkov hardcore. Not all of the, the absolute anecdotal nonsense we have to deal with. What makes Tarkov hardcore isn't that this scope is automatically zeroed to this gun and you should know the differences, or the AI is supposed to one tap you from 600 meters away. No, those things are that's a joke. Those things are jokes. What makes Tarkov hardcore is this. It's the reality that like you want something is valuable and anybody can take it. And if you want it, you got to be the best. You got to either get there first and get out before anyone can see you, or you got to take it. That's what makes Tarkov hardcore. That's what makes Tarkov fun. Not all this other stuff. So every excuse you can think of. Yeah, but if the keyed rooms had good looting, then the cheaters would vacuum it up. It's like, what do you want then? Like, where do you take that logic? Should everything in the game be 1 ruble and we should all have max traders? Because that would be a guaranteed way. You want to get rid of cheating in Tarkov by that logic? Every player has 1 billion rubles when they start their account. Everything from the traders is free, and we're all max level. Well, why would you RMT?
You mean it's like Call of Duty loadouts?
Why would you RMT? So, like, where's the logical conclusion there? You know what I mean? Like, we should make cool stuff for the game. And then the game developers and they should be equipped to deal with the other things. But it's like, oh my god, like I hate that so much. Like, oh, but there's no
logical conclusion, because what happens is you say, I want to make the stuff expensive in the marked room. The reasoning that they have is, yo, I'm gonna camp that room then.
Yeah,
and then they go, people are gonna camp that room then. You know that they are instantly like, oh my god, well then, I mean, I'm gonna, like, now I'm incentivized to do it. Oh wait, sorry, but that's gonna be a problem for all of the rats, definitely not me.
Yeah.
But like, the way that you make the game better and the way that you make it more hardcore is, people say that, you need to be able to do these like 4 meta stupid exploitive whatever, where it's like, oh well, you need to do the quick super fast jiggle peek thing if you want to be able to check your corners. It like the unintentional mechanic that's a bug, right? Where it's like, well, no, what I would advocate is blind fire grenades, because you clear the room out, you go over, and then imagine you're in the second room, you want to clear the bathroom, you go
a
flash grenade in the room,
Yep.
but instead you have to stand in the hallway. You have to go ka-chink. The person standing in there, they're already going to push you. You're if they push you. And then it's like super awkward and hard to line up where the grenade is going to go because it's totally ambiguous. I know there's no crosshair. I'm not saying there should be a crosshair.
No, yeah.
But like, let me put it to you this way. Given how atrocious like the nade physics is and how little control you have over like throwing nades and stuff, if there was a little dotted line that was like 10% opacity that would show you where the grenade was going to go if you were just standing still and you let go of mouse 1.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't care if anybody thinks that that's not hardcore. I want that because now you won't have people necessarily spamming nades all over the place. A lot of the reason why people spam nades is because they have no control.
Yeah,
they're just like, one of these is gonna roll and maybe hit, right?
$100 says somebody comments on this video and goes timestamps that they're gonna have paused it and not listen to what I'm saying right now and say all you have to do is see when he has his other hand up, it's between the index finger and the middle finger. If you hit it up and you put it at a 45-degree arc, that's exactly where it's gonna go. Swear to God, wait for it. I'm gonna pin the comment when I find it.
No, what you gotta do is you gotta drop an item on the ground at your feet so that your little white dot, looting dot, comes up, and that's in the center, and that's what gives you the.
I've never thought of that.
I just invented that in my head right now. That's gonna be the new meta, I guess.
That's so genius.
Yeah, dude. Like,
yo.
It just occurred to me. I remember people like, how do you have a crosshair, dude? And for the longest time, I'm like, what do you mean? Didn't realize they were talking about like the high perception dot.
That's so epic.
But then imagine this. Imagine if you could, you know, those white flares that have no use.
Yes.
Imagine you're on the ramp outside of Emercom exit. You chuck a flare. Strafe run lays a carpeted line of smoke.
Oh, yo.
Well, now you can bolt and have visual cover.
Yep.
And the only reason why, like, people would say, oh, use a smoke grenade. How are you going to line up 27 smoke grenades perfectly aligned? Like,
yeah.
Especially when they're probably still client side. You have no control over where they land. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even saying that these are the ideas, but it's ideas like that.
Yeah.
That are what makes it like, if you want me to value my life, give me tools to be able to do something. Because there's no way you can avoid exit camping when there is an infinite number of angles. They could be behind any tree with a scope. You wouldn't be able to see them if they're crouched down behind a tree, just holding that one thing.
Yeah.
Sitting behind the tents, you can't clear the tents. You clear the tents, your back is to 97 other angles. You just have to luck out and hope that if there is an exit camper, that they potato.
Yep.
So give us the tools, or give us the extracts, or give us, like whatever.
Oh, bro, you just have to freaking run a flea or a reap every. Bro, he just unlocked the code. That's it.
Dude.
That's it. Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, I'm sure.
If you're not running a reap every raid, dude, you're not investing in yourself.
I'm sure that the fact that I'm gonna survive 30% of my raids with the reap, and is gonna account for the price difference.
Yeah, that guy's not died with a reap ever. He only lives.
One quick thing I wanted to say on the topic that you were talking about earlier, making money, is I actually I don't really think that your looting style really makes a huge difference. Like, you're talking about min-maxing. Like, it's either you have all the stuff that you would otherwise need to sell to buy,
or it's
got to be pretty close.
Yeah, to buy the
rubles.
thing.
What to me is more significant is, again, think about conceptually. If there's 10 people in a raid, if you're solo, you have 9 enemies. If you kill 1, you now have 8 people, potential enemies, while you're vulnerable looting.
Yeah.
And between you and the extract.
Yeah.
Imagine you're a duo. If you kill 1 person, first of all, I don't know. I mean, you're not twice as likely or whatever. I don't know what the numbers are, right? But it's not super far off from twice as likely to kill that person when you have two people, and or half as likely to die, right? Because it's like, if they can only shoot one person, it might be you, it might be the other person, right? So rather than have 8 enemies, 9 enemies, you have 8. And then when you kill that person, you're more likely to kill them and survive the fight.
Yeah.
And now there's 7 instead of 8 people that are potential enemies. And you have someone to watch your back
you're
and
less
to listen.
vulnerable when you're looting.
So you're less vulnerable, and someone to watch your back and another set of eyes and ears while you are moving through the...
For sure.
It's like... one extra person on your squad, that has to be so infinitely more valuable. That right there is... Obviously, I can't say that's like... There's no way to quantify. And as much as people would want, like, dick measuring contests between streamers or whatever, like, who knows how good anybody is, you know, whatever. But, like, I think that has to be a non-zero amount of the difference between my 30% survival rate and your 60% survival rate. It has to be having just another person there with you, which is the potential between breaking even and then suddenly profiting. And when you profit, you get better. Then it snowballs. You know what I mean?
I would bet my life that you're better than me at the game. I suck, dude. I suck at aiming. I suck at everything. Like, I just have played enough to be able to hang, and I play with homies. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that the duo thing is single-handedly representing the entire difference between my 60% and 35 million and yours. Like, you know what I mean? I'm sure there are other factors, but especially when you consider, like, those factors growing and growing and growing over 3 months, right? Like, 3 months, you know, here we are 3 months in the wipe, I have almost 1,000 raids. You know what I mean? If I make a little bit more money each raid and I have a little bit more survivability each raid, over 1,000 raids, you know what I mean? That really adds up to really significant stuff. And there's a lot more layers to that onion too, where, like, if I die as a duo and my duo dies, there's a non-zero amount of times that when that fight ended, if we were fighting a squad, we killed most of the squad. Now that guy has most likely going to ditch their friend's loot and maybe die doing that. They might not remember where they killed me, or even if they ditch their friend's loot and survive, they can probably not take both of our full kits if it's a one person that won.
Because there's 2 people, and then the 2 people you guys killed. So now the guy that wins has 5 people to choose from. So you're less likely to have your taken.
Even without my buddy dropping the insurance, there's a non-zero amount of raids where I get some of that insurance back. Those are the raids where I get a gun back with all the attachments stripped off. If it was just like a 1v1 and he killed me, he would take the gun. But if he killed me and Velian and we killed his teammate, he's probably going to try and min-max. I'm getting more value. So, like, all of that stuff extrapolated over 1,000 raids, like, you won't hear me say it's because of my skill that I have that money. Like, it definitely, that plays a part in it, and it's why the game is bearable. You know what I mean? Like, I've had those days where you're just like, I'm just on big head mode, where, like, first bullet out of anyone's gun, I'm the guy that goes down no matter what. And I've had those days while Seal is having, like, his S tier. He's crushing. I die, he wipes a 4-man. I die, he wipes a 3-man. I die. And those are the nights where, like, I died 70% of my raids, and I used the same kit the whole time because he just kept bringing it back. You know what I mean? And it's like, those are like, I died, but it didn't matter. It was nothing.
And that's like 300,000 rubles per raid.
Time that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's all the ammo and the meds and all that stuff, the stuff that you don't get back in insurance, that you then don't have to buy for the next raid. Yeah, dude. Like, and honestly, I wish I could play with duos more. But here's the thing. Because I'm dude, yesterday I was playing Hearthstone while playing chess, like bullet chess.
Damn.
While, like, listening to music and talking to chat. When there's another person, for some reason, that is so, like, one person is worth 10 things. It takes up so much of my mental power, because
I get that. Yeah.
Especially because I'm still, like, it's not natural for me to have, I don't have the mute button set up for Discord because I don't do it very often. So I'm always like having to worry about that, plus worrying about, I've got my music playing, and then if I die, whenever, I hate going into like scav runs. That's another thing too. When you die, you do scav runs, where it's just like, I never do scav runs.
Oh, yeah.
So that right there is, I die, I'm instantly back in a PMC raid, and I die, and I'm instantly back in a PMC raid, and I die.
That's a really good point, because you're not incentivized. There's no reason to do a scav run for you other than like, I want money. But my reason is like, he might be bringing my gear out. So why gear up again? I might as well hit a scav run. And then how many of those scav runs do I walk out with 1,000,000 rubles worth of random garbage? You know what I mean? Like, that's another aspect of that for sure.
Yeah, I just wish I liked it more. And I'm sure people, the only reason why I'm saying this is because I know that folks are going to be like, well, why don't you just do duo more? And it's like, honestly, it's just so stressful and overwhelming sometimes. Well, because I can't engage with chat and also respond to like alerts and also play the game and also have music on all the time and also be attentive to my teammate. And it's like, sometimes I can only do one.
When it's raining in Tarkov and an airdrop comes through and my duo is talking and a TTS thing, I'm like, dude, I'm fried. I can't do it. Like, when it's raining in Tarkov, I'm just mad because I'm having to like listen and discern for footsteps. This is like a streamer privilege problem. Listen and discern for footsteps through the sizzling bacon of the rain, and listening to my to duo, or formulating a thought in response to a chat message. And I just like, dude, my fuse is so much shorter when it rains all day. Anyways, I'll say this too, so that you don't have to, so people aren't like, just like, oh, like, oh my God, it just completely left me. Hold on. What were you saying just before then? No. I had something so good to say. You were talking. What were you talking about?
Making money, how hard it is when you're
duoing,
doing scav runs, and my survival rate.
Got it. Two things. One is like, just because that's true doesn't mean like the answer is like, oh, just play the game a way you don't want to play it. Like, at the end of the day, if the reason you don't want to play duos is just because you prefer solos more, that's an acceptable answer. All of those things we listed are still like actual valid things of like why duo is more. But it's like, I just want to play the game solo. Like, you know what I mean? And then secondly, I'll say this so that you don't have to, because if you said, it'd be like, well, you're just the solo trying to cope and come up with reasons why it's not fun to play solo. I openly admit on my stream regularly that Tarkov is too broken for me to enjoy it solo. Like, those things, all of those reasons that duo is more profitable are overcomable challenges for a solo. A lot of the people that I talk to that play solo do it because it makes the game on hard mode, and they like that. And if the game worked, then you would at least be able to internalize that and be like, okay, I need to shift my playstyle a little bit. I need to do this. I'm going to run this map because I'm more comfortable with it. But I say this, not Veritas. I say this on my stream. People say, hey, do you ever play solo? Because some people like watching solo players, and I actually really get that. As a viewer, it's a lot too sometimes. If it's not two people that you like really, really enjoy, there's a lot of back and forth, you know, so I get that. So some people will come in and they'll be like, hey, like, I enjoy watching you. Do you ever play solo? My answer is always like, the game is too broken for me to enjoy solo. I have played solo, and I've played solo and really, really enjoyed it. And I've played solo and really, really enjoyed engaging with chat on that level. But my mental fuse like shortens dramatically when I play solo for all of those reasons, man. I died to some absolute bull crap, some insane desync. I died to a fly hacker. I died to a sniper scav from 300 meters away. I died to bird eye. I died to all this. Like, when I die to the stuff that's like not skill issue, like actual, this game is potato, no audio. There's too much. There's too many of those things for me to want to play solo right now. So like, if in a perfect world where the game was like functioning like well, where like the amount of cheaters was reduced by a lot, when the desync isn't gone but reduced to like normal levels in normal games, if the audio was freaking copium hunt showdown level audio, I probably would carve out 1 or 2 streams a week to play solo. But like, it's just like, it's rough. So for you to say, I don't necessarily want to play this way. And because the way I want to play just butts me up against all of the problems with the game, that makes me want to go play Hearthstone this week. I get it. Like I do.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah. And I mean, there's nothing that anyone's going to say if people want to just attribute. So many people want to attribute where I'm at with the game, and not just me, but a lot of other people too.
Yeah.
Where a lot of us are at with the game as people have gotten way better than your glory days.
Yeah.
You're older and slower. You haven't learned to adapt. It's the skill issue thing.
Yeah.
There's nothing anybody's going to say that's going to change their mind.
Yeah, correct.
I genuinely don't care. All I know is that my intuition and my guts tend to be pretty good. I mean,
yeah.
How many times have I been like, I just found out I was getting stream sniped and targeted for a considerable amount of time when I kept saying something doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
And people want to say skill issue. Well,
yeah. Or you're like, or you're like, I duo and you're all janky. I wonder if there's something here. And everyone's like, no, it's fine. It's fine. and then everyone's going, you know what? Everybody does rubber band all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And now every tweet I see, I haven't been playing the game at all. And like pretty much every tweet I see from like Tarkov content creators are the that I've been talking about, where suddenly everybody's talking about how the fights seem like they're RNG. Suddenly everybody's talking about
not fun anymore. All this, yeah.
I would, and
yeah.
I mean, there are, and the other thing is that like you can point to the 2, 3, 4 X streamers that you want to, and like listen. I don't know what their motivations are. I don't know, maybe it's just that they're, godly or whatever, but it makes sense that you want to keep the what is it, like the impression of nothing's wrong with the game, like,
oh, for sure.
They're motivated to just be like, to downplay the issues or not talk about the issues or whatever, because they get less from people.
Yeah. And I acknowledge that because I do that. I literally have a sticky note written and attached to my monitor that was like, stop complaining. Not because I think there aren't issues with the game, but because I feel less motivated to stream. I feel like I have less fun streaming, and I feel like the vibe in the stream is lower when I spend the whole day pointing out these issues over and over again. It's like this self-fulfilling thing where like I get frustrated and then something frustrated happens in the game and I get more frustrated, and then either somebody in chat says something like, we'll just get good, or chat doubles down and goes, this game does suck. You're right. That's not even a good thing either. And so that circle continues. And I felt myself getting sucked into that. And so like, I don't say that to say that anybody that does complain about the game's issues is doing it wrong. I was saying that to acknowledge what you say is true, that like there are a certain amount of people that are motivated to just like, I am just going to move on from it and chill. Like, I don't know that there's anybody out there that legitimately is like, there are no issues with Tarkov. I would say 90% of the people are people that either complain about those issues a lot or people that just choose not to complain about those issues a lot. But I don't think anybody's out there like, no, dude, it's perfect. It's good. It's great. You know what I mean?
I mean, all the YouTube commenters.
Well, yeah. But so I say that to say that like, I agree with what you're saying. We're like, yeah, of course, some people are motivated to just like keep the vibes high no matter what. You know what I mean?
Dog, you're the version of me in an alternate universe where my therapy has been successful.
It works. Well, that's also why what comes out of that is the most frustrating thing in the world to me. One of the most frustrating things in the world to me, and sometimes I can laugh about it, but sometimes it really gets to me, is when within a reasonable amount of time, two different people both decide they hate me for the opposite reason. And both can't be true. Right. And so like, that's why I get told that like people like you don't ever criticize the game and then nothing's going to come from it. And then in the podcast comments, people say both of these guys are just jaded and they hate everything and all they do is complain and they don't even try to be positive. And so every single day of the week, I get told I'm both too jaded and have no valuable opinions and a BSG shill that never admits there's problems, because I've decided to compartmentalize. I can come on here, even though a lot of the same people are in chat, I can come on here and just let it rip with you, because that's what this is for me. Like, you know what I mean? And then on stream, when I'm alone with those thoughts or when I'm with Valiant or whatever, I choose to downplay it. So like the byproduct of that is like people can't decide what I am. So so I just get both sides of the hate. You know what I mean? Like, so, which is frustrating. I don't know. So, yeah. So it's just like it's a weird, what I was going to say is, I would, when you said that, like, you were like, I'm not going to change people's minds on when they're like just get better and adapt and like the play style is different. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, I'm not going to change those minds. Dude, I would argue that those are the people that are bad at adapting. There's nothing really to adapt to. There's one successful play style in Tarkov, and they've mastered it. That's cool, yep. But they're not adapting to multiple types of threats. Those are the people that when they die, they say that dude was camping every single time. Those are the people that...
He was a rat.
Yeah. Those are the people, like, I've had, like, I'm not going to name any names or anything, but I've had, like, really big streamers and stuff like that kill me, and I go back to watch the VOD because I'm like, yo, GG's, and they're like, what a rat. When like I had literally just come out of a full sprint, I am immobile because this game doesn't let you move at all, and I hear someone running, so I go, I can't run, so I'm gonna hold this angle, and I kill a guy. And I'm a rat. And I know if I showed that person or these people the clips, they would be like, oh, like, I'm like, sorry, GG's, I didn't mean it. And I know that they don't mean it, but like, the people who say you can't adapt, they're not adapting. They just like learned the one successful thing, and everything else to them is you're just a rat. You're just a rat. You're just a rat. You're just a rat. You were just camping. You're extra camping. You're a rat. You're just a rat. You're just a rat. You know what I mean? Guys like Tower are people that adapt. That they're trying to figure out what their enemy's doing and then counter it. You know what I mean? That's like, you just learned how to jiggle peek. That's it. You adapted to this one gameplay style, but if in a world where tomorrow the desync was better, the cheaters were better, and the audio was better, and people could effectively start playing more slow, you'd be freaking out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and I would be back to 75% survival rate and 30 win streaks because I'm smarter than them. I might not have the Twitch reflexes that they have, that the net code rewards them for having.
Exactly.
But Tarkov used to be a game where information and brains mattered
more.
But now Tarkov is a game where information is completely and utterly unknowable, unreliable, untrustworthy, and or so many people have information that they shouldn't have.
Yes.
And now all of a sudden, wow, it's crazy now that, you know, I can't compete anymore when the game is just objectively worse in all of these ways. But yeah, dude, it's so funny because I wonder, you say you come on here, like you compartmentalize and you definitely vent, and I love that. What if you didn't have the podcast?
Oh.
Do you think you would vent more on stream?
Yeah.
Because the interesting thing is, as much as I complain, I'd tone it down on the podcast because I don't want to be a negative Nancy. And now, not necessarily like the quantity, but like when I'm on stream, the frustration I feel, anybody who denies that they have these gamer thoughts and these gamer feelings where I'm like, this is a trash game, the developers were dropped on their heads, they you know, like I'm saying the worst possible because I'm so frustrated that like my time and my resources have been ripped from my hands, you know, that like it's just drives me insane. That's what, like, the reptile part of my brain comes out. So yeah, this is like the toned down version.
Bro, I would absolutely maul so much more because I've had the podcast to ease me through the transition of like, you know, fluffy white rabbit just enjoying playing around in the snow. You know what I mean? We did this early enough in my career that I was like this bright-eyed, bushy-tailed content creator that was like, I loved everything. Through,
like, just wait, kid.
Yeah,
just wait.
yeah, through to the game, like breaking me down. So yes, like if I didn't have this outlet, I absolutely would probably be in a whole different place mentally.
I just hope I didn't accelerate that.
Oh no!
I didn't plant the seed.
The game did a bang up job of that all on its own. Yeah. Well, all that being said, I did want to talk about the podcast that you did with Goat and One Peg and the guy that worked on the Vanguard thing. You know, all that part of what was tied up in that was what's his name? Almost Homeless or something like that video where he talked about the AI anti-cheat. That was like a video that blew up, and then like I think Goat brought it up or One Peg brought it up, and then that was talked about like a little bit. But like I watched the full 2-hour thing. Like I watched the whole thing because it was just fascinating, like hearing him talk about that industry.
Did you learn anything? Like, what was your takeaway from that?
I mean, like, I guess I didn't really expect to learn a whole lot from it because I was just imagining every question that was going to be asked to him was going to be like, we can't tell you. I think the biggest takeaway from me was that, like, he seemed to really emphasize the, like, the joint effort that it is. Like, that was a big thing for me. So as someone who knows nothing about it, I think for a long time, when BattleEye came into the game, I almost like shifted the responsibility of the cheating problem off BSG onto BattleEye, like subconsciously. And I think that has been lessening over the past year or so. But the concept where he was talking about, like, it's so, like, having an architecture that is as preventable as possible of being taken advantage of is just as important as the tools we use to identify cheaters and ban them. You know what I mean? How it was like literally and how he talked about they use AI models, but like he just kept saying there's no smoking gun. It's like literally everything all the time. Everybody needs to be in tip-top shape doing all of it. That was like a big thing for me. So I was like, yeah, because it makes sense. A lot of the cheats that we have seen have been people like leveraging the game itself and not even necessarily like using a whole lot of third-party stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Why did you feel like it wasn't a valuable?
And I didn't feel like it wasn't valuable. It was, I mean, I hate to say, but it was similar to like Goat's video to begin with, where it was like, I didn't learn anything new. That's not to say that people, like, I'm sure a lot of people learned a lot from it.
Yeah.
It was just like, there wasn't a whole lot I didn't already know.
Yeah.
And then also like, so we had like multiple pages of questions because originally we were supposed to be talking with some folks from Vanguard
that are like currently there.
Yeah. We were talking to like the PR team, or I don't know what the conversations, who exactly everybody was. Like Goat was in charge of most of that stuff. But then like a week went by and we hadn't heard from them. We're like, yo, what the is going on? And finally they were like, yeah, sorry, we can't do it. So I was like, okay, well, plan B. And we'll talk to this guy. Which, I mean, and it ended up being a great conversation. He seems like a super cool guy. What was unfortunate was just that, like, it was like, I don't know, like it's really hard to have the kinds of conversations that I personally would want to have to be able to get the most value out of it, because like all of the questions that I went through, I maybe got a chance to ask like 3 of 15.
Yeah.
And of those 3, each of those had like and I shouldn't, this bothers me, and I shouldn't let it bother me. I hate when people are like, what the Hopefully my computer didn't just crash. Okay. I hate when people are like, he just talks to talk. He's just like, get to the point, get to the question, get to the point.
Yeah.
And it's like everything I'm saying I'm saying it for a reason, especially when it's written or scripted.
Yeah.
So I feel like the pressure and the stress when I want to like read a 2-sentence preamble to my question, the 2-sentence preamble is not just to hear my own voice.
Yeah.
It's because it's important context.
So we don't end up answering the wrong question or getting lost. And like, you know what I mean? It's like, if we only have a limited time with this guy, I want to make sure that when I ask this question, he knows exactly what I mean and what to answer. So we don't end up on a 15-minute tangent about, well, it's like, yeah, I already knew all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like, because there's so many people always kind of jumping in at the end.
Yeah.
If I have a 3-part question and I say the first bit, he'll answer the first bit. And what that first bit is going to be a little piece of information, but also a primer for the next 2 things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone else jumps in and changes the subject. And it's like,
yeah, for sure.
So,
that's hard to have that many people. You know what I mean?
Like some of the things I wanted to talk about, to like go through the list. I wanted to talk about if anti-cheat programs ever cross into the realm of detecting non-gameplay behaviors like RMT and other stuff like that. I asked him that, again, we wasn't able to follow up on a lot of the things.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk more about like replay system, manual bans, statistical analysis. A lot of that was focused on the fact that like what he was saying was you should never do A, B, and C. And A, B, and C are the things that BSG does regularly.
Yeah.
Manual banning, bans based on clips, bans based on statistics.
Yep.
Like all of these things that I've been saying are problematic for so long.
Yeah.
And then I want to be able to follow up with like, okay, well then how much human involvement is acceptable in detecting cheaters, and like what are the risks?
Yeah.
That's a whole 5-minute conversation that we could, and then it's like, okay, well then to what degree do the stats and the analytics for players play a role? Are they used as a first pass, or can they ever be used as final judgment? Like each of these things are like peeling back the layers, right? But I got halfway through one of the things. Unfortunately, then I end up being like, okay, I'm going to ask a 4-part question because I just don't think I'm going to get a chance.
Yeah.
To get it in. So there was just so many things I wanted to ask about honeypots. I wanted to talk about the differences between, like, get deeper into the differences between what part of the anti-cheating fight is like BSG's or the game developer versus the anti-cheat software. Like how much of that is it 80-20? Is it 50-50? And then talk about like, what are the aspects that fall on the developer versus fall on the anti-cheat?
Yeah.
When these two systems meet, how do they meet, right? Like, is BSG providing BattlEye like KD ratios?
Yeah.
Does it have access to that information? Is it a 2-way flow of information? Like, I want to know these things.
Yeah.
These are the things that nobody knows, nobody talks about, right? And it's like, and those are the things that I think he could actually be like, some systems might do that. Like, I don't need specifics. Just tell me like what kinds of information. But like, we just didn't get a chance to get into anything.
Yeah.
Other than like you watch, just go on YouTube and type, how do anti-cheats work?
Yeah.
And that's basically what you're going to get.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's like, I represent the guy that's never done that though. And like, there was a lot that I learned about like, it in the realm of like I feel like I represent a Tarkov player that's, obviously this conversation has been brought up a lot more recently with like the cheating thing, and I'm just not educated on it. And sure, I could have done that, but like I just have other stuff to do with my day. You know what I mean? Like I just have I've never done that for any reason. So to hear 3 Tarkov guys be talking about it and then be learning about it from a really educated guy through the lens of he wasn't talking about Tarkov in anything, but I can apply all this to Tarkov. It was interesting for me to learn a lot of that stuff about like how it's like everybody's responsibility and how important it is to have a strong game architecture, which BSG obviously didn't, or something that they're working on. It was interesting to hear him talk about like just like him working at a studio where literally they were just like anything you want, however much money it costs. Like it's the most important thing. And like he threw out a number which he said was a little crazy, but like, you know, $15 million was what he threw out, you know, for these services. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and this general sentiment where he was like, we could spend as much money as you could give us. Like just like those type of things where it's like, this is hard. It's one of those things where like, the people developing the cheats are financially incentivized to do so, and the people developing the anti-cheats are oftentimes financially constrained. And that, like, he was like, Tarkov no way has a team as big or as fleshed out as ours did. You know what I mean? Like, and they're probably at least some level of it being like, we just like can't afford, you know, a big thing was the reminder of like the human nature of it, where he was like, he worked at, you know, Vanguard. He worked for one of the biggest games at one of the biggest teams with one of the biggest budgets. And he was like, I could work 24/7 banning cheaters. It wasn't like we had it down. We finally installed this thing and we were letting it do a thing. He was like, all of us could have worked all the time. So to think about a smaller anti-cheat development team without an infinite budget who maybe manages more than one game, I'm not saying that permits cheaters in the game, but at least it adds a little bit of context to me that once again, it's a human thing that these guys are trying, you know what I mean? So,
dude, it's like you can have the most competent, skilled, like drug enforcement like group in like a highly trained SWAT segment of a police department.
Yeah.
And there's still going to be a drug problem wherever the it is, right?
Exactly.
They're just going to be really effective at finding it and taking it out. And, you know, but like people need to think about it like crime. You know, like you can have the most baller police or military and you're always going to have, you know, these issues.
Yeah, and he even said that there were always, like, there were still cheaters. Like, he even said that what they were working on towards the end was, like, trying to identify more of the people that would, like, hire cheaters to boost. You know what I mean? The people who were cheating without cheating. So by saying that, he was acknowledging they were doing the best they could. They were probably industry leading. Everybody says there's no cheaters in Valorant. And he was saying that they were going after the people that were hiring cheaters. Well, that means there were still cheaters. It was just at a much more manageable percentile of the player base. So it's like, you know, somebody's just said the Cycle Frontier got rid of cheaters. One, no, they didn't, right? There are cheaters in every game. Two, they did a lot of things that I hope BSG does. There's actually interviews with the developers of the Cycle Frontier, and they talk about a lot of different things they did that was awesome that I hope other people too. And three, the last I heard, there were like 400 people playing. You know what I mean? So like they just wiped the game. They did a huge patch to season 3.
There's less legitimate players playing than there are cheaters playing Tarkov in raids right now.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, so I hope that percentage scales up, but it'll be interesting to see if we get your landmarks and your summits and your all these guys back on the game and their player base goes. I mean, it was 100,000 concurrent at one point. If we get back to that level, that's the real test. I'm not saying they did a bad job, but I'm saying it's stupid and disingenuous to just type in chat, the Cycle Frontier got rid of cheaters. You know what I mean? Yeah, they have 8K concurrent players right now. Yes, because yesterday they launched their big new season. You know what I mean? Yesterday they did that. It was a huge thing. So like, I'm just saying that like it's
one of the important distinctions I want to mention real quick when I talk about this, and also when I talked about in the GOAT video. The whole, like, I didn't learn anything new. Part of what I want to convey there is in both of these situations, we had, like, a rare privileged perspective to get information. So what I want from opportunities like these, whether I'm involved or not, is to get the information you could only get from that situation. Yes. What I don't want is to have this once in a lifetime opportunity.
That makes a lot of sense.
to then make a video that is the same as the top 3 videos on YouTube from 2 years ago when you search how does an anti-cheat work, because I watched those things because I wanted to, and it's the same.
Because
right?
you wanted.
So,
yeah.
Like, I want something novel. So when people are like, well, I didn't know that, it's like, okay, but if we didn't do the interview and I said, watch this 7-minute video, well, now you would know that.
It, yeah.
So what I want is to bring new information to the table, because if I know it, then chances are it's easily Googleable.
Yeah.
Unless we're talking about some obscure software that I got into in my 10 years, like, you know, really specific Bluetooth low energy robot communication over MQTT, you know, between mobile client, like, unless it's that, I probably learned it from YouTube.
Yeah.
So I want to learn something new that isn't already on YouTube, right? And again, I'm not saying that there wasn't anything new, there wasn't anything good. I'm glad we had the conversation. It was fun, you know, it was a good time. But yeah, I feel like we probably could have, you know, wrung out more drops of juice from that fruit. I don't know what.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense that both sides are true. Like, the interview we got is valuable and a lot of people would have learned something from it. But your desire was to be able to bring new information to the table. And you thought that, like, that didn't.
Yeah. Why don't we preemptively prepare questions?
Dude, I was like,
wait. Okay, now.
Yeah. Those questions?
All of these questions? And I'll say that, like, I tried to stick to my script.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd have to look, but, like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But it was interesting. But it was still interesting. The other big thing for me was that, like, this is a guy that has seen just about every tool at the disposal of anti-cheat developers. And this is a guy that's had probably the most unhindered access to those tools as far as, like, budget goes. And he seems to think that, like, it's just going to end up being, like, opt-in hardcore stuff where, like, you know what I mean? Where it's, like, not necessarily the social security number or driver's license, but it's, like, you know, ways. I didn't understand a lot of what he was saying, but it was, like, something like trusted hardware, trusted this or whatever, or, like, that kind of, like, interesting, you know, a little bit of kind of what you said, where, like, I wish that somebody would just, like, hold all this data, whatever. Cause, like, yeah, I would give him my driver's license or my, like if it was an opt-in thing, if it wasn't required, but if it was opt-in, like, kind of like the Steam trusted server system or whatever. Like, that was just an interesting thing where he was talking about that kind of being the future of just, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's so funny to me how, like, so many people seem to be so. I have a hard time believing anybody's serious when they're all up in arms about their privacy.
Yeah,
like dog, you created a Twitch account, a YouTube account. Google has all your information. You being afraid of giving BSG your home address, like, what are the Russians gonna nuke your home? Like, give me a break. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. And that's
like,
not
what are
to
you
say
really worried about?
It's not to say at all that privacy isn't important. It's the hilarity of arguing privacy on platforms that have very publicly sold user data to literally everybody without anyone's consent, and we continue to use them. Like, when people tell me on Twitch that, like, I'm an idiot for considering Twitter Blue because, like, why would you give money to that billionaire? It's like, you're subbed to me, brother. Like, where do you think the other half of your sub goes? To the other billionaire. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, if you
fill up Jeff Bezos's tires.
Exactly. It's like, if you, it's I respect the stance if you take the stance, but it's the hilarity of the fragileness of the stance is what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying that they're wrong to be worried.
Yeah,
I'm just
correct.
saying I kind of just don't believe them.
Yeah.
You know,
just don't believe that they've considered it very far, that they've taken that logic even one additional step.
Yeah, like it's the same thing where they just, it's like the exit campers, or like they're just gonna camp marked room. Like the first thing that comes to mind is, oh, I'm not gonna give a company my information.
Yeah,
it's like, dog. Like what information are we talking, right? Do I want to give a Chinese biotech cloning company my DNA along with my social security number and like a lock of my hair along with like my birth certificate along with like, or are we talking about giving our email address?
Yeah.
And or like, you know, I don't know. That's the other thing, is that nobody actually ever talks about the specifics about what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I would have to think about this, and I'd be willing to hear the arguments, because I'm sure there's some like unforeseen thing where this might come back to haunt us later. But like my index fingerprint, would I give that, you know, like if I could log in, if I could log into Tarkov with my fingerprint, and that would put me in a trusted lobby.
Yeah.
Which would reduce the amount of cheaters by a noteworthy percent. You know, let's say 80% or something. Yeah. Would I? I don't know. Let's think about that. First of all, the first thing that comes to mind is, could you spoof that? Because if you could spoof it, well, then it's pointless.
Yeah.
Maybe you can. Right? Maybe you can just make a new account with a silicone finger with a thumb.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. But like these are the I just went through step 1 of a 12-step thought experiment that I guarantee none of these people have ever gone through.
Exactly.
They haven't even gotten to step 1.
That's the point. Yeah. 100%. And I'm totally with you on that. I don't know all the answers, but I haven't assumed all the answers.
Yeah, and just dismissing it because privacy.
Exactly. And just assuming all the answers, like, yeah, exactly. And that's kind of where we're at. So it's like, I don't know. When he was talking about that, he was talking about a lot of things that I didn't necessarily understand from a hardware level, because we know that there are like hardware ID spoofers and stuff like that. But he just kept talking about like trusted hardware, and like he was saying that the future is a game of not even allowing like preventing cheats from being able to happen and not catching the cheats. But that's hard because like what I understand about it is like there's lots of spoofers. But then he was also talking about a lot of things, a lot of like security settings in Windows that like he was saying like, you know, we could increase the requirement of them to play in these lobbies or whatever. So there was a lot of it. And obviously I wasn't in there, so I couldn't talk to him about it, but it was interesting stuff. Let's just say there's a lot I would do to get into trusted lobbies if I knew the games I played. There's a lot. Maybe there's a line, like you were saying. I'm not saying privacy doesn't matter. I'm not saying I would give them a lock of my hair and my social security number and whatever. But I would
get on a video call with my license. Even through a Russian company, sure, fine. You have my address and my picture. I don't care.
Dude, I would do that. I would write an essay. I would pay a monthly fee. Like I would do a lot of stuff if it meant that with the amount of time I play. And then a big thing that he mentioned at the end was like he saw a future where there were these more restricted things that were opt-in, that they weren't forced. A big deal was like when freaking Call of Duty required a phone number. People were freaking out because it was required to even play the game. I thought that was an interesting just an interesting point where he was like, there could be realities where it's like, there's this and there's this. And it's like, it's not like we're putting more money into this. It's just that if you opt into this, you're sacrificing a little bit of this, but it's just like, because of that, you're going to be whatever. Like that was an interesting part where it's like, he saw a future where more games had like, well, you could opt into this, which some games already do with the Steam trusted servers and stuff like that. I just found that to be interesting.
Yeah, I think one of the things, and there was a ton that I wanted to get into the details on, but I feel like they would have been either too technical or he was definitely like an engineer in that I could tell from the beginning that he was talking above the average person.
Yeah, I didn't understand a lot of what he said.
And I tried to clarify a few things, because I understand some of the terminology. When he was like 4 nines, I'm like, okay, like but and I think one of the things that he might have been referring to at one point, I was also like kind of distracted dealing with was poor timing, family was coming up that I was dealing with, so I was a little bit distracted. But like the latest version of Windows has like some additional protections where if they were require it, it's one of those things that like, well, now you can't support Windows 10 or when, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like, so it's like, it's you run into the whole like, Apple, it's way easier to develop apps when you don't have to support iOS 7 and 8 and 9 and 10 and 11, right?
Yeah.
Like the engineers, our favorite thing is like, we can finally drop iOS 9 support. Like, yes, thank God, because now we have 97 if statements that we can just delete that were there that are like, this doesn't need to be here anymore. So like, but you have a trade-off, right? It's like you're gonna prevent people from playing the game, or everybody on Windows 10 is going to be playing with more cheaters. Is that something that's like that you want to do? Is it worth the effort when only 5% of the people are updated to the latest Windows and have enabled these settings? You're adding barriers to entry to the player that might hurt your game, the community experience, that may not guarantee an improved experience for the people that stick around. So that's like one of the things that he was talking about. Although a lot of the things he kept talking about, there was a phrase, I even wrote it down in the notes, and I never got a chance to ask him what the fuck he was talking about. Did I write it down? I thought I wrote it down. Oh yeah, he said some phrase. Yeah, never mind. I don't.
Because as I understand it, and tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't even know if you understand how it works either. But like the Steam trusted servers thing basically takes into account like how many hours you have on Steam, how many hours of games you've played, and then puts you in servers with people that like have played a certain amount of hours on Steam or something like that. Whereas. I actually don't know, so I'm definitely not asserting this as fact. But
is that different than like CS:GO Prime lobbies?
I don't know. I thought that was the same thing.
Because all that is you have a phone number that you validate.
Okay, so no, what I was talking about is a different thing. I've heard of a thing where it's like, there was like a Steam, basically kind of a Steam thing where, and maybe what I heard of isn't real. I don't know. But like kind of like the Steam equivalent of what you suggest with the data, where like if you cheat, they can ban your Steam account. And then if your Steam account was made in the past 30 minutes, you can't participate in these trusted servers. So it's like, it's kind of a barrier on Steam where like.
Oh, that is also, I think with the Prime lobbies too, there is like a threshold. As to how like old your account can be.
So like that's
like,
something where like if you just were like you saw your favorite streamer play and you were like, I want to play CS:GO for the first time and hop in, you're not going to be able to get into those servers, but it makes those servers a lot harder to cheat on because if you get banned and you have to create another account, you just can't get in. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah. So I mean, then the question becomes, does the market turn to buying trusted accounts? Do you just have an account? Like, I wonder how many people have 10-year-old accounts that they just would sell if somebody offered it to them. Or would that then incentivize more phishing scams to steal accounts?
Yeah.
These are all things that are like worth mentioning, worth discussing. Now, there's also like, if you think about in Tarkov, it all depends on why people cheat, right? But like, let's say there was trusted lobbies, and let's say they cost $20 a month or something.
Yeah.
It's like the cheaters could probably subsidize that. They're already paying for the cheats, right? But like, why would they? It'd be the same loot.
Yeah.
Is it just that they would have less cheaters in their raids?
And the people that would be willing to pay $20 a month for the trusted servers aren't the people that are buying from RMT anyway. So they would probably still have buyers in the non-trusted lobbies. So yeah. Like I said, I don't know. I just
require like you have to have 3,000 hours on your account without ever changing your email address on the account.
Yeah.
And have a phone number attached to it.
Yeah.
And a fingerprint and a DNA sample and
yeah.
a semen sample and
yeah. So yeah, like I said, I definitely don't know at all, but it was just a little sobering and humanizing to see that to a guy with that much experience in it be like, it sucks. Like, it's a fight every day. There's never enough work to be done. Every single tool is valuable. Let's use the AI. Let's use the hardware. Let's use the Windows. Let's use it all. But I don't know, man. I don't know. It sucks. Why can't people just not be dicks? You know, and not cheat?
Because they're bad in video games.
Yeah.
I'm going to be bad, at least I'm going to be legit and be bad.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be bad, at least I'm going to be knowledgeable.
Yeah, I mean, that's... So, like, so ultimately, if you haven't seen that, it's on Veritas's channel. I think it's also on One Pegs and Goat's channel.
Yeah, watch mine.
Yeah, it's on Veritas's channel. We'll link Veritas's... where the whole conversation, it's interesting. If you don't know a lot about it, I think a lot of people in the Tarkov community would really do themselves a service by watching that video, because it's a rather Tarkov centered, great education on anti-cheat, and a lot of that stuff. So I would definitely recommend watching it, unless you've done a considerable amount of research into anti-cheat already. Then watch it anyway, and give Veritas that sweet ad revenue.
Oh, that's adorable. You talk to your wife like that?
Yeah, man.
Nice.
So that was cool. There's not a whole lot of other Tarkov stuff. Did you see the picture Nikita posted of the dude mid vault?
The dude looking like he's
like pooping his pants.
Diarrheaing while vomiting. That's exactly what I look like in college the last time I my own pants.
Yeah. I am terrified.
Dude, it's so funny. Of all the things to vault over, imagine if he was like halfway up a fence, like a leg up, it'd be like sick. It was the box, and he was like
what that image,
step over it. You don't need your upper body.
And what that image told me was that when vaulting's in the game, I'm gonna walk up to a box to try and loot it, and I'm gonna climb over it. Like,
you're gonna see the bars, the black bars up on top, and you're gonna see vault.mp4 starts playing, and it'll be like
no,
while you're like
no
climbing over the thing, and then the camera zooms out.
Someone's shooting at you. A scav is shooting at you.
Then you'll regain control. Oh my god.
So what they could have done to get me rock hard about vaulting was just an image of a man mid-step up onto a curb. Because anything other than that, the game doesn't need. Would it be cool to be able to vault over stuff? Absolutely. Would it be cool to be able to mantle up into windows? Absolutely. What the game desperately requires is my adult male the ability to step onto a curb. It actually...
What if he crawls on all fours, but it's just as fast?
It's just as fast? I'll take it. It actually...
bear crawls.
It actually got me killed in a raid. Thank God it was a scav raid. I was on a scav raid, and I was running, and a other scav shot at me a bunch, bro. I had lost 4 limbs, and I had heavy bleed. He came up. He was like, I thought you were a PMC. And I was like, no, I know. The PMC you just thought was here. Kill it, killed. I watched him kill it. He's right here in these bushes. He goes, my bad, dude. I said, do you have anything for heavy bleed? He drops me the thing. I have the heavy bleed. I'm not bleeding, but I got broken limbs. I taken painkillers. I got broken limbs. Okay. The PMC is in a bush on the other side on streets of the little wire garden barriers that are 8 inches tall, and they're wire. They're not even concrete. The little decorative garden barriers. He's on the other side of it. Okay, I can't walk over it. I jump over it, and landing takes damage, and I die. The PMC's right there with meds, and I died jumping.
Bro, you should.
Dude, brother. So I swear to God,
why don't you adapt, bro? You should know better. If
they give me a jetpack in this game, if they let me vault over whatever, but I can't even think. I can't. I'm already so mad. If they mess that up, I'm just gonna be so pissed. Like, if we have,
dude, if you use the jetpack, it would black out your legs. The fire would instantly black out both your legs, but that would be like, that would be the hardcore.
Dude, if they add vaulting to the game and it's not the ability to just walk over small objects, or I swear to God, if it's an animation to walk over those small, I'm gonna lose it, because that will just be completely like
won't be able to ADS,
missing the forest for the trees on like, this is just a cool feature and not like, what is the game desperately need. Now, my hope, the copium, is that they add that and a cool vaulting mechanic. That would be so sick. That would be so sick,
dude.
But if they miss that, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah, man. Recently, there's been a bunch of situations where I'm like, I have no tactical abilities here whatsoever. Yep. Everything and a lot of it is like, I want to be able to get up on this ledge right here, or I want to jump in the window that's like waist high right here. And it's like, but in order to get there, I need to completely make the loudest noise ever. Yeah. Like, if you could just in a window, it's like, imagine now getting into the unmarked room side of dorms.
Yeah.
All the way in the ground. Like the far end on the left, there's those windows. Imagine being able to flank around, climb through the window, but instead you hear clonk, clonk, clonk.
Yep.
And it's like,
and you miss the jump, so it's like,
no. Yeah.
And then you get in and you wiggle in, like.
And then you get in. By the time you get in, there's 3 people holding the angle, right?
And oftentimes on streets, there's a window, and right outside the window is a bush. So if you're in the bush, you can't jump. So you can't jump in the window. So the actual tactical maneuver is to run away from the window until you get out of the bush, then initiate a sprint where you can gain up enough momentum to turn around, jump over the bush, and in the window. Hardcore, realistic game. I just want to fall into the window. Like,
dude, but see, the thing is, that's what people say when they mean adapt. They mean you need to play so specifically, stupidly, the way that works for Tarkov right now.
Yeah, and I don't see that. Yes, technically it's adapting to bad game design, but that's not like skill-based adapting.
We all know this umpire is completely crooked and will always will always strike out the pitcher if you throw a curveball on the third pitch, no matter what. So you should adapt and just always throw this other pitch, right? And it's like,
exactly.
Why don't you get the umpire fired?
Don't try to get better at the game of baseball so that you can outsmart your opponent, which is the batter. Yeah. Just throw a curveball and you'll strike them out. Adapt, bro. Like, yikes. So
I think I said at one point, I'm sure I said something. I don't remember if I caveated it or whatever, but I basically, in so many words, at one point historically was like, there's no way they'll ever be vaulting.
Yeah, I do. I think I remember that. We need to get a podcast GPT on finding the episode that happened.
I know. I don't have it bookmarked on my new laptop.
Yeah.
I'll have to pull it up. But
yeah. So
I mean, I hope I'm wrong.
So Joe, me too. I also see a universe where we try to vault up on something and we either fall through the map or launch up into space or get caught in an animation, or cheaters can abuse between animations where I'm invulnerable for a millisecond, and then they can imagine that's the new stanky leg where you're like mid mantle. You know what I mean? Like
speedrunners find the one texture that you vault into, you end up off the map behind a box, and then you're like invulnerable.
Still run around, yeah.
You can still run around, yeah.
So I'm very like, this is one of those things where like a lot of the things I'm just like full blown copium. They mentioned that they wanted to make the lighting on interchange better. I'm full copium. I'm like, yes, it's going to be better. You know what I mean? Hell yeah. But this is one of those things where I'm like terrified. I'm terrified that they're going to bring a mechanic we don't need and overlook a mechanic we need. I'm terrified that it's going to be buggy. But I can also acknowledge it would be hella cool in this game. So I hope it's great. So I hope it's great, man. I really, 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 really do. I hope it adds new dynamics to fights, new maneuverability in the map. I really hope it does. I hope it's we have our cake and eat it too, but I am terrified.
Now, the last thing I'll say on this is there's also a world in which, because the reason why I'm like, they'll never do it is because I'm like, it would take so much time, so much resources,
that's what I thought,
testing
too.
And development and all those things, that there's no way that they would do it. Maybe they decided 90% of our resources for 2022 is going towards vaulting, and that's the reason why nothing got fixed. Nothing ever, maybe, you know, so it's like, maybe, you know, I was right, and it was like the unstated premise was they would never do it because it would completely all dev progress of the game, and then maybe that explains why we're here.
I will admit I'm surprised that we are getting it, especially now, because like I'm pretty sure the last time we heard Nikita speaking on vaulting, he literally said, like, they were talking about streets, and he was like, you could tell his wheels were turning, and he was like, there's just so many, like, we would have to make sure that you wouldn't be able to vault up onto things we didn't want you on, like, and I felt like he was like, oh, that would just be so much work. So, interested. Now, once again, if the vaulting mechanic was you can step over...
Oh, it's a thunderstorm. Holy...
Really?
Yeah, it was just my noise gate caught it, but I just saw lightning right outside and it's hailing. That just scared the shit out of me. Sorry.
Yikes. No. If the mechanic is not vaulting and it's you can step over ankle-high objects now, I'll say huge dub. Deserving of the, you know what I mean? But the picture just felt like a not that. The picture felt like a full-blown hands and feet animation.
On something that was ankle, like shin high.
Yeah. So I was just like, But we'll see, man. We'll see. So there was that. They dropped some new screenshots of streets, which I know a lot of people were not salty about, but just like very understandably, the map still doesn't run very well. A lot of people still can't do it. There's obviously huge issues in the game. Streets is my lighthouse in the storm. It is my home. It is my comfort. It is a new map that's so well designed with incredibly engaging PvP and lots of good loot and lots of PvE and multiple scav bosses and cool extracts. And I love it so much. So if we get a streets expansion, do we need it? No. Do we need other things more? Yes. But I won't complain because it's such a good map. And if we get a streets expansion soon, it'd be so sick.
Dude, I was playing on my PMC 2 days ago, and I got a 300 XP exploration bonus on factory.
Hell yeah.
So I haven't even seen, I'm sure, like half of streets I haven't even seen.
I'm sure you haven't. I'm just playing streets, and I am still. Yesterday, while I was playing with Desmond, he was like, watch to your left because that window connects to a room that connects to the other side of the street that he could flank through. And I was like, I didn't even know you could get in this building, bro. I probably paid 200 street trades. Like, it's such a good map. And by the way, in the extracts, like, I don't understand. Like, Reserve has such terrible extracts. Interchange has so few extracts. Like, the Green Flare extract, in my opinion, is incredible. It's one of the best. I just think it's so cool. Like, when they talked about like dynamic extracts, it was like, oh, that's interesting. And then they made it like D2. And it was like, that's not interesting. Like, you know what I mean? Like, or fun. And then they made like 8 extracts, or technically 3, I think, where it's just like, you can't bring your backpack. Dynamic. You know what I mean? And then it was like, wait, what? Like, I love, even though it's basically just pay 2,000 rubles for this extract, it feels immersive to bring a flare in and shoot it off and let a sniper not shoot at me. I just like that extract because it adds a little bit of dynamic of, oh shoot, I forgot it. So now I can't go. This guy had one, sick, let's leave here. I found one. It's a centralized location. So like no matter where you spawn, if you prepared and brought the thing, you can always path to that extract and not have to be like, oh, should I go courtyard? Like,
yeah.
I love it. So like,
I like it in principle. I just hate how ambiguous. Like, you have to see someone do it or watch a tutorial.
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, you would never know that you need to stand in this exact, because you know the number of times I like walked over and you see the little thing pop up where it's like, this is the zone. You might see that when you're 5 feet from the thing.
Yeah.
You don't know that you need to do it exactly in this right angle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's just so much ambiguous about it that they could have done better.
Part of the signal area is under the overhang of the hotel. So you can walk into that area. It'll say signal area. And if you fire it, it'll just hit the roof of the thing and not count. But you're in the signal area. But because the flare didn't actually go up, it doesn't count. So you could like, so yeah, I definitely won't disagree that it could have been explained and elaborated and presented to the player in a much better way. But once you understand it,
I kind of wish it was
cool.
like, and I actually did this the other day. I forgot that the flares were like a shoot up flares. And for some reason, I thought it was like a smoke grenade. So I was doing like shooter. I know. I literally just like looked down and was like, and I was like, oh, because I wanted to do a red as like a bait for Shooterborn.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, well, you know, I guess I'm just not going to get the airdrop this time around. But like, it'd be way better if there was like spray painted giant on the pavement and you threw like a smoke grenade kind of flare where it just like the smoke came up, or like a road flare.
That'd be interesting.
You know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because then it's like, there's no ambiguity around, am I standing in the right place? Like if you're standing outside, but you shoot the flare inside, like, is it like, what's the trigger? Is it where you're standing and what angle you shoot it? Do your feet and the flare need to be within this rectangle?
Yeah.
Or can you?
Yeah, if you shoot the flare out of the zone, does it still work? If you're out of the zone, you shoot the flare into the zone, does it still work?
It's just so ambiguous. And with a game like Tarkov, I guarantee you there's something that is like unreasonable there that would cut you.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were standing outside the zone and you shot it perfectly above, like if you shot it in the exact location XYZ that you could shoot it from inside the zone, then you should get it, right? Like,
yeah. But in concept, I like that extract a lot. And so like Streets is just like, it's so much fun. I love it. More, give more. I'm trying to think what other, they made some, just like blitz through some other things. They made some changes. Where's that tweet? They made some changes to some crafts, bringing them much more like better and in line with they changed a bunch of the crafts for some of the higher tier ammo, which we've talked about before, where it's like we've talked about before, there's a lot of ways to do it. Just pick one for God's sake. You know what I mean? It's the same thing with the keys. It's like you can either go the WoW route or you can go the other route, but like go a route, you know, and we had criticized before where it's like you take those ammos off traders, well, let me get them somewhere else. Well, you can craft it, but it takes 200 hours. Okay, well then at least let me get it in raid. Oh, you can't find that ammo in raid. It's like, pick one.
You got to play the annoying, time-consuming mini game that you need to make. Yeah.
One. So they reduced the time to craft a lot of these and upped the amount that you craft for some of them and reduced the materials needed. So it's not a perfect solution, but at least it falls in line with like, okay, well, if I can't find it in raid and I can't buy it off the trader, at least there's an avenue to get it, and this is how. So whatever. You can now buy 2 labs keycards per reset, which is interesting.
I wonder if, like, does that mean, are more people going labs, and or has that made it feel
I don't know. I haven't been to labs. labs, Lamau. So I wouldn't be the guy, but maybe some of the labs chads in chat could give you some context there. If you told me you could buy 10 per reset, I probably wouldn't go labs a lot.
Dude, I had the weirdest. My thing is beeping in the background. I had the craziest encounter I've had all wipe in labs. I had my Vepr 136 just with a dot, 762 PS, and I like killed like 3 of a 4-man. I got like a sick head tap on the guy. I was all the way in the office with the safe across from the main like garage area with like the overhang where you hit the button.
Yes.
The metal.
Yep.
I was all the way across on the opposite side where the glass safe room is. There's like a safe, there's a weapon case, whatever. And I like red dot face tapped the dude all the way on the metal. And I was like, hell yeah. Went in, killed like 2 of his buddies. And then I peek out and I see the other dude who I was like stalking him. He was like going in and out of the shelving on the right side on the main area. And he like came out and I was like pop 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 pop, and he just looked at me walking, Ford armor, wrist T, just like 13 shots and he died. I think maybe his gun jammed or something.
He didn't even shoot back.
He just couldn't find the key. He tanked like 13 P and I ended up dying to like the 5th guy. But it was just like the weirdest thing. I'm like,
damn.
What the fuck is going on? Am I invisible? Like, what's happening? It was so weird.
Dude.
That's labs for me.
So
it's always weird.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. So that, and then there was the Tarkov hack scare where everybody thought Tarkov
the launcher.
Yeah, bro. I mean, listen, I understand why people thought Tarkov was hacked. I mean, literally the banner on the launcher was broadcasting a website to go buy cheats. And the unfortunate thing was it was a day they put out a technical update. So if you hadn't already gotten the technical update, you would have double-clicked the launcher, you would have seen the attention, go buy cheats here, and the game would immediately start unpacking files. Like, it would start downloading the technical update. So, like, it's very understandable that people, like, got, like, a little debated onto, like, holy cow, like, all freaking close down your PC, like, everything, so...
Hide your kids.
It turns out that they were just able to like exploit a way to get information on the banner, but that no actual game files or information got into, which is obviously very good. But it was like for a hot second, it was like 911. You know what I mean? But it ended up being okay.
Yep.
Yep. But yeah, that's the Tarkov ski. And it's the way she goes. Yep.
I'm gonna go do some more Magic the Gathering drafts.
I'm gonna do some more Magic. You witch.
Yeah, man. It's a Wiccan.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
You had, I promise you had a friend when you were younger that identified as a Wiccan.
Yeah.
You wore black nail polish. You probably identified as a Wiccan at one point. I know my sister did. We had a seance.
It was for sure. No, but like for real though, I'm pretty sure one of the people that I sat at the lunch table with at the time when they pinned the bomb threat on me, one of them, it was that high school phase. It was like all the goth and me.
She was sitting there with a Jesse-shaped doll, sticking a little pin in it.
Yeah.
Putting a bomb in its hand.
Yeah.
You look down, you're like, oh, the police officers roll up.
Yep. So, yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching as always. Thanks for hanging. Thanks for supporting us. This is Saturday. Yep. Which means I will edit this tomorrow and it'll go up on Monday. Thanks for hanging. We will definitely see you all in the next one.
Peace.